Hey everyone, welcome to Write in Code. We're excited to have you here. This project's built with HTML for the structure, scss for the styling, and JavaScript for all the cool calculations. And if you want to try it out with other frameworks or grab the source code, all the links are waiting for you down in the description. Let's begin by exploring the project structure. In our main directory, you'll find several folders and files. The scss folder contains our scss styles. The style folder holds the compiled CSS files. The JS folder includes our JavaScript logic. And at the root, we have index.html as our main HTML file. This organized structure helps keep our code clean and maintainable. To turn our scss into CSS, we use a simple terminal command. Just run sass-watch scss/main.scss style/main.css. Or the simpler way is by installing Live Sass compiler from your extension tab. This command watches for changes in the scss file and automatically updates the CSS file, so your styles are always up to date as you work. Now let's dive into the HTML file. At the top, we link our compiled CSS file and the JavaScript file that powers the clocks. Inside the body, we have a main container div with the class container. This holds our heading, world time zones, and a clocks div that wraps 3 clock section divs, one for each city, New York, London, and Tokyo. Each section includes a heading, H2, a canvas for the analog clock, and a div for the digital clock, each with unique IDs for easy targeting in JavaScript. This clear structure makes it easy to add more clocks or customize the layout. With the HTML setup, let's move on to the scss file. At the top, we import the Orbitron font from Google Fonts for a modern digital look. We then define several variables for colors, backgrounds, and shadows, making it easy to tweak the design later. The body section sets up a full-screen background with a beautiful gradient and image, centers the content, and applies our chosen font. The container class styles the main box with rounded corners, a subtle blur, and a soft shadow. Inside container, the H1 heading is styled to be large, white, and spaced out for a bold title effect. The Clocks class uses Flexbox to arrange the clock sections in a row on desktop, switching to a column layout on smaller screens thanks to a media query. Each clock section gets its own background, padding, and shadow, and the H2 inside each section is styled to be bright, slightly smaller than the main heading, and spaced below the analog clock. The canvas element is given a white background, rounded edges, and a subtle shadow to make the analog clock stand out. The digital clock class is styled for a glowing futuristic effect with a fixed width to prevent resizing and uses a monospaced font for consistent digit spacing. The digital clock before pseudo element adds a soft gradient overlay for extra depth, while the span inside digital clock ensures the time text sits above the overlay and remains clearly visible. The digital clock span is positioned relative with a higher z-index so it appears above the background and overlay, making the time easy to read. When you hover over the digital clock, the clock slightly scales up and the box shadow intensifies, giving a dynamic glowing effect. But the span itself does not change on hover. Its role is to keep the time text crisp and visible above all effects. Now, let's take a closer look at the JavaScript file. It begins with the function drawAnalogClock, tx_time, which is responsible for drawing the analog clock for a given time zone. Here, tx represents the 2D drawing context of the canvas, while time is a JavaScript date object that holds the current time for that zone. Inside the function, the clock's radius is calculated from the canvas size, and the canvas is cleared before each new drawing. The drawing state is saved, and the origin is moved to the center of the canvas, making it easier to position elements. From there, the function draws the clock face, a filled circle with a border, and then places the numbers 1 through 12 around the clock using a loop. Next, the current hour, minute, and second are extracted from the time object, and the function drawHand is called 3 times to render the hour, minute, and second hands. Each hand's position is determined using trigonometric calculations, and finally, a small dot is drawn at the center to complete the clock face before restoring the original drawing state. The drawHand function itself is fairly straightforward. It rotates the context to the correct angle, then draws a line from the center outward, styled according to the given parameters. Next, we have the updateClocks function, which handles updating both the analog and digital clocks for each city. This function starts with an array of zones, each containing an identifier and a time zone string. For each zone, it retrieves the current time in that time zone, creates a date object, and then passes it to the drawAnalogClock function to render the analog version. At the same time, it updates the corresponding digital clock by setting its text content to the formatted time. Finally, at the bottom of the file, we see setInterval updateClocks 1000, which refreshes the clocks every second, ensuring they always show the correct time. And with window.onload equals updateClocks, the clocks are drawn as soon as the page loads.
This step-by-step approach ensures that both analog and digital clocks for New York, London, and Tokyo are always accurate and visually synchronized. And that's all for this video. Thank you so much for joining us on Write in Code for our first project. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And do you have any projects in your mind? Then let us know in the comment. We can't wait to build more amazing things with you. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.